Listen to me. If you're tired of everything, not just work, not just people, but life itself, this isn't weakness. This is your nervous system waving a white flag, begging you to stop pretending you're okay. I want to speak to the part of you that wakes up already exhausted, not the tired you fix with sleep, the tired that sits in your chest, the tired that whispers, I don't care anymore. You didn't lose your strength. You lost your capacity. And that matters. Because when you're tired of everything, it's not because you're lazy or ungrateful or broken. It's because you've been carrying too much for too long without permission to put it down. You've been strong in rooms where you should have been held. You've been silent when your truth was screaming. You've been productive while grieving versions of yourself no one noticed you lost. Let me say this clearly. Burnout isn't about doing too much. It's about doing too much without meaning, without rest, without belonging. And here's the hardest truth. You don't snap when you're weak. You snap when you've been brave for too long. So you're tired of everything. Stop asking, what's wrong with me? Start asking, what have I been surviving that I never processed? This moment, right now, isn't the end of you. It's the moment your soul finally refuses to be ignored. You are not failing. You are listening. And that right there is where healing begins. You don't wake up tired of everything overnight. This exhaustion is layered, accumulated, earned the hard way. It comes from every time you said, I'm fine, when you weren't. From every boundary you swallowed because you didn't want to be difficult. From every moment you chose being liked over being honest. You've been negotiating with your own limits for years. And now your body, your mind, your heart, they've called an emergency meeting. Here's what no one tells you. Emotional exhaustion doesn't announce itself loudly. It shows up quietly as numbness, as indifference, as that dangerous thought, I don't care anymore. But not caring isn't peace. It's protection. Your system learned that feeling everything hurt too much, so it shut the doors, not because you're cold, but because you're overwhelmed. You've been absorbing other people's expectations like they were your responsibility, carrying guilt that was never yours, holding together relationships that only survived because you kept bleeding. Let me say this gently but firmly. Just because you can carry, it doesn't mean you should. Your worth was never meant to be proven through exhaustion. And here's the part that might sting. Some of your tiredness comes from abandoning yourself to keep the peace. Read that again. You didn't just get tired of life. You got tired of betraying yourself. And that realization hurts, but it also sets you free. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And once you stop lying to yourself, your energy slowly, quietly begins to return. This isn't collapse. This is awareness. Let's talk about the guilt, because it's heavy and it's sitting right on your chest. When you're tired of everything, you don't just feel exhausted. You feel ashamed for feeling exhausted. You tell yourself other people have it worse. You minimize your pain. You rationalize your burnout. You turn your suffering into something you're supposed to outgrow quietly. But pain is not a competition. And exhaustion doesn't disappear just because you explain it away. Here's the truth you've been avoiding. You're not weak for wanting relief. You're human. You've been taught that resilience means pushing through at all costs. But real resilience isn't about endurance. It's about honesty. It takes courage to admit, I can't do this the way I've been doing it anymore. That sentence isn't failure. It's a declaration of self-respect. You are allowed to be tired without turning it into a moral flaw. You are allowed to rest without earning it through suffering. You are allowed to want more ease, more softness, more space. And listen closely. If your body is slowing you down, it's not betraying you. It's trying to save you. Burnout is not your enemy. It's a signal flare. It's saying something in your life is costing more than it's giving. And the bravest thing you can do right now is stop asking how to push harder and start asking what you need to let go of. Not everything deserves your energy. Not everyone deserves access to your heart. This is the moment you stop proving your worth and start protecting it. There's a quiet grief hiding inside your exhaustion, and most people miss it. When you're tired of everything, you're not just worn out, you're mourning the version of life you thought you'd have by now. The dream that didn't happen, the effort that didn't pay off the way you were promised, the belief that if you did everything right, you'd feel fulfilled. And no one prepared you for this part, the heartbreak of doing your best and still feeling empty. That grief doesn't scream, it settles. It becomes heaviness in your body, impatience in your voice, distance in your relationships. You start thinking something is wrong with you. But what's really happening is this: your expectations and your reality are no longer aligned. And that gap is exhausting. You're grieving lost time, lost energy, lost innocence, the version of you who thought effort alone guaranteed joy. Here's the hard, liberating truth: some seasons don't reward us. They refine us. And refinement hurts. It strips away illusions. It forces you to confront who you are without applause, without certainty, without constant motion. But grief isn't a dead end. It's a doorway. When you let yourself feel it, really feel it, you stop wasting energy pretending you're okay. And that alone brings relief. You don't need to get over this season. You need to go through it with honesty. Because on the other side of this grief is clarity. And clarity gives you back something you've been missing for a long time: choice. When you're tired of everything, you start craving escape, not because you hate your life, but because you can't breathe inside it anymore. You fantasize about disappearing, not dying, just not being needed, not being responsible, not being on all the time, and that scares you, so you don't say it out loud. But let me say it for you: wanting relief is not wanting to quit life. It's wanting a life that doesn't constantly drain you. You've been living in reaction mode, responding, fixing, proving, holding. And in that constant response, you lost something essential: agency. Your days are full, but your spirit is empty. Your calendar is packed, but your heart feels homeless. Here's the uncomfortable truth: some of your exhaustion comes from living a life that looks acceptable on the outside, but feels misaligned on the inside. And misalignment is one of the most draining forces there is. You keep asking, why am I so tired? But the better question is, where am I saying yes when my whole body is saying no? Because every time you override yourself, it costs you energy you never get back. Rest alone won't fix that. A vacation won't fix that. Sleep won't fix that. Only truth will. Truth about what you want. Truth about what you can no longer carry. Truth about what needs to change, even if it disappoints people. Your exhaustion is not asking for more rest. It's asking for more honesty. Here's where it gets uncomfortable, but also powerful. When you're tired of everything, your instinct is to look outward, to blame the workload, the people, the circumstances, the timing. And yes, those things matter. But there's another layer most people avoid. You are exhausted because you've been living disconnected from your own needs. You stop checking in with yourself because survival didn't leave room for curiosity. You learn to function instead of feel, to perform instead of pause. And over time, that disconnection turns into depletion. You don't trust your own signals anymore. You push past hunger, past sadness, past anger, past joy, until your body has no choice but to shut things down. That's when everything feels heavy. That's when even small tasks feel impossible. That's when life loses color. This isn't because you're incapable. It's because you've been ignoring your inner world for too long. And here's the reframe that changes everything. Your exhaustion is an invitation back to yourself, back to asking, what do I actually need right now? Back to honoring discomfort instead of numbing it. Back to letting your feelings be data, not distractions. You don't need to reinvent your whole life today. You need to reconnect, one honest check, in one boundary respected, one feeling allowed. That's how energy returns, not all at once, but authentically. You don't heal by pushing through disconnection. You heal by coming home. At some point in exhaustion, you stop trusting yourself. You wonder, am I too sensitive? Am I overreacting? Why can everyone else handle this and I can't? And slowly, Quietly, self-doubt becomes another weight you carry. But listen to me carefully. Your tiredness is not a character flaw. It's a signal of misused courage. You've been brave in ways no one applauds, brave enough to stay when leaving would have been easier, brave enough to keep showing up when your heart was asking for rest, brave enough to hold it together while falling apart internally. And courage without recovery turns into collapse. You don't need more discipline. You need permission. Permission to slow down without explaining yourself. Permission to change your mind. Permission to disappoint others, to stay loyal to yourself. Here's the shift that restores power. Stop asking, what's wrong with me? Start asking, what happened to me that taught me to ignore myself? Because that question opens compassion instead of criticism. And compassion is not softness. It's strength with wisdom. You don't rebuild your life by shaming yourself into action. You rebuild it by creating safety inside your own body. Safety to rest. Safety to feel. Safety to be honest, even when the truth shakes things. You are not meant to live in constant override mode. You are meant to live in alignment. And alignment is where energy begins to return. When you're tired of everything, isolation starts to feel safer than connection. You pull back. You stop explaining. You answer messages late or not at all, not because you don't care, but because caring feels expensive. And here's the quiet truth: exhaustion shrinks your world, not intentionally, not cruelly, but protectively. Your nervous system is trying to reduce stimulation, reduce demand, reduce risk. So it convinces you that being alone is easier than being seen. But loneliness doesn't always look like being alone. Sometimes it looks like being surrounded by people who don't really know you. You've been performing strength instead of practicing vulnerability, and performance is draining. Connection isn't what exhausts you. Disconnection does. When you can't be honest about your limits, your fears, your needs, every interaction costs you more energy than it gives. And no one taught you how to ask for help without feeling like a burden. So you chose silence. You chose self-reliance. You chose coping alone. But listen closely. You were never meant to carry life by yourself. Real connection doesn't demand perfection. It requires courage. The courage to say, I'm not okay and I don't need fixing. I need understanding. You don't need more people. You need safer spaces. One honest conversation can restore more energy than weeks of pretending you're fine. Your tiredness isn't asking you to disappear. It's asking you to be real with at least one human who can hold the truth. Here's what starts to happen right before things truly change. You stop fantasizing about escape and you start craving meaning. Not motivation, not hustle, not another version of yourself you have to become. Meaning, you realize you don't want a louder life. You want a truer one. When you're tired of everything, clarity begins to replace chaos, slowly, quietly. You start seeing what drains you without needing to justify it. You start noticing what gives you even a small sense of peace, and that awareness can feel terrifying because it demands courage. Courage to simplify. Courage to choose depth over approval. Courage to let some dreams die so better aligned ones can live. This is where many people turn back. They'd rather stay exhausted than risk disappointing others. They'd rather stay numb than step into uncertainty. But you're not here by accident. Exhaustion has stripped away the non-essential. It's shown you what doesn't matter anymore. You don't need to fix your whole life. You need to honor what matters now. One value you stop compromising. One boundary you stop negotiating. One truth you stop hiding from yourself. Meaning isn't found in doing more. It's found in doing less of what's costing you your soul. This stage isn't loud or dramatic. It's quiet resolve. A knowing, a deep internal, I can't live like this anymore, and I won't. And that knowing is powerful, because once you feel it, there's no going back to the life that made you tired of everything. If you've stayed with me this far, I want you to hear this, not as motivation, not as advice, but as truth. Being tired of everything is not the end of your story. It's the moment your soul draws a line. This exhaustion didn't come to destroy you. It came to interrupt you, to stop the cycle of overgiving, over-functioning, over-explaining. To pull you out of a life that looked survivable but felt unbearable, you are not here to be endlessly resilient. You are here to be whole. And wholeness begins the moment you stop abandoning yourself for the comfort of others. It begins when you choose honesty over harmony, presence over performance, enough over endless. You don't need a dramatic rebirth. You don't need to become someone new. You need to come back to who you were before the world taught you to override yourself. Your energy will return, not all at once, but faithfully. Each time you tell the truth, each time you rest without guilt, each time you choose alignment over approval. This season didn't break you. It clarified you. So if today all you can do is breathe and stay, that's enough. If all you can do is say, something has to change, that's powerful. Let this be the moment you stop asking for permission to live differently. You are allowed to choose a life that doesn't require constant survival. And from this point forward, may you build a life that feels like home, not another place you have to endure.